How is everyone doing today? I am waiting for my special guest of the week. Here, let's adjust this. So, oh, there we go. Here's Andres. Hello.
Well, hello.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you.
Good. So, for anyone who doesn't know, this is Andreas Cardenas. He is an Access Consciousness CFMW and the creator of the Mudfuckers Club. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Marisa. Could you say that one more time? It makes me laugh when someone says the name of the club.
Yes, the Mudfuckers Club. That's MUD Fuckers Club. And I love it. We're getting out of the mud. Yes, or going into the mud. Is that what we're doing?
God damn, we don't even know what we're doing, but we're doing something there.
Exactly. So today, Andres and I are going to be chatting about switching from fear to potency and what that all means. So I guess I'll just start out with, what does that mean for you?
What does that mean? Oh, wow.
Yeah, big question.
Jesus Christ. But I can summarize. That we can look at it from, like, we can ask the question, what's actually fear? Like, if we're gonna jump from fear to potency, what if we look at what's fear? Was that if I were going to ask you, Parisa, what do you have any experience with fear?
Oh, definitely. And it's not really in the term of like, or in the sense of like, oh, I'm afraid of heights or like bugs, which I don't like bugs. But anyway, for me, fear is more like being the infinite being I truly am and being afraid to be fully me. That's something that I deal with when it comes to fear. And fear is a distractor implant. So it's not even real. And it's crazy that fear has so much power over some of our lives, even though we know it's not real. It's fake. It's a judgment.
It's a judgment. Let me give you that's a great example. Thank you. Let me give you an
Yeah.
example of one of my fears all my life. So, like, I come from a background where I've been surrounded by women. Mujeres, a lot of women in my life. So that includes
Chicas.
chicas. That includes my mom. I have two siblings, one older, one younger. They're very possessive. They're very controlling. They're jealous. I mean, the middle guy, the sandwich. My aunts, they're like majority. I only have two uncles, and there's a family like nine kids, and they're all women, and the family keeps growing, and all the cousins I have is like 7 women for each guy, and so I've been surrounded by that energy, and we grow up with this point of view that we have to do what makes them happy. We gotta do what keeps them into a status of don't fuck up with me. Let me live my life. I don't want any problems today. I want my breakfast served. I don't want to jeopardize that you're ironing my shirts. I want to go to the party with you. I know I'm younger, but that all that kind of stuff gets you into a constant fear. So I came, I left my country, I came into a new culture, and right after, so I went through 2 divorces, and there was always drama. And I remember one situation where I'm very paused, like I keep my shit together in terms of I always count until 10 and sort of give a space for things to marinate and don't go through the reaction. And when I got to the climax of this masterpiece that I've created, how to live my life, I got yelled by my ex because why are you so quiet? you're doing something because you're not doing nothing wrong. You think that just by being nice guy, I'm gonna believe you're being nice. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I mean, like, how crazy could this drama thing going on? So that always had created a fear for me. I got I would call it PTSD
Mm-hmm.
or PTD. Yeah, PTD. PTSD could be the right word. Um,
Sure.
one of my ex also got me in troubles with the law. I spent one night
Oh
in jail,
wow.
and I had no idea that you needed to go and spend one night just until you can prove otherwise. And all these things start like being really like heavy on my life, and that
Mm-hmm.
created on me a sense of constant fear, constant fear. So the Andres I remember when I was a kid, it wasn't there anymore. I wasn't that child anymore. That freedom, that my brain goes into um, like goes into vision. Sometimes I look like I'm not paying attention, because actually I am not. I am just looking at you, but I'm focused and I'm like 20 days ahead or something like that, building something
Mm-hmm.
in my brain. I lost all that. I lost creativity. I lost faith in me. It was a roller coaster. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a definition of fear for me.
Wow.
I knew more when I knew access consciousness tools, and when I learned the definition of fear and everything, also what you said. Um, but I've been experiencing for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's jump into the other definition, potency.
Potency,
So
yes.
I know there's just a flip of the coin. I always been to add to that previous story. I always have had this relationship with my previous bosses where there's always either they love me to
Mm-hmm.
death or they hate me.
Yeah.
There cannot be a midpoint with me. They like I'm with them and I serve them well, and they love me and I can get anything I want, or they hate me and like the fuck out of here. Like you're not
Mm-hmm.
good to me anymore if you go elsewhere, kind of thing. So I have had to face that in the past, and I had to go through that and say, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna go through it. Under
Mm-hmm.
threatness, I remember one boss I had said, "You leave this office, you go take your promotion, and your career is not gonna look the same. You're gonna start going down."
Wow.
So she
He
had
was.
been amazing.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say he was trying to instill fear in you.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And this is all manipulation, drama, and just
Mm-hmm.
making you feel guilty and all that. So, but guess what? I say, okay, well, I'm really sure of what I'm doing. I won't mind to, number one, be on a different, like, feeling that I've been promoted. That's a really nice, amazing thing to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's more money. So, like, give you financially, I jumped from making uh, $2,500 bonuses to make 10 grand bonuses with that change. That's
Oh
the
wow.
that's the kind of like the future I was not looking, just because someone wanted to manipulate you. But I
Yeah.
had to go through hell to make that happen. I had to
Mm-hmm.
go through the experience. So and sometimes happened, and then I kind of realized that from love to hate, there's just a flip of a coin. We can we can
Mm-hmm.
look at something similar here in this situation with from fear to potency. It's a flip of a coin. I mean, like the moment you
Yeah.
really, right, the
Mm-hmm.
moment you face it is the moment where you really look what's beyond that,
Mm-hmm.
and many other aspects and energies. Do you have you experienced something like that in your life?
I'm getting yes, and I'm trying to figure out what situation it was in. But I mean, even creating this podcast, I was scared shitless. I was
Uh-huh.
mortified of like fucking it up and having people be like, "What is she doing? She doesn't know what she's doing." And I don't. But I was coming from fear initially, and I have not unlocked, but I've accessed the potency that I truly be through this podcast and just doing it wrong, doing it bad, doing it anyway. And I mean, the result already has just been so great. I've gotten so much more confident. It's added so much more meaning to my life. It's just that's where I've experienced it lately. So,
Exactly, Parisa,
yeah.
exactly. We all have this fear, especially like you starting I don't know how many ventures you've done in your life before, but this Access Consciousness CFMW, since you
Mm-hmm.
took your maybe your bar facilitators accreditation, you started a new journey on your life, and not
Yeah.
knowing really like what was the first step, and yet guess what? You jump on it.
Mm-hmm.
You took that fear and said, all right, what is it that you have to tell me? How bad could this be?
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
get it. And I get it. You probably ask some questions before you launch your podcast. That is your baby. And that just gives you some sense of um, potency. You went through the
Mm-hmm.
process, you made it happen. I don't think this is the first episode. I think you've done more, and every single one. I wonder how much experience will that bring to your knowledge, to your
Yeah.
career.
I wonder. And, the way when you mentioned like us getting into access consciousness, I started from a place of fear. So Janine had told me to get my bars run. And I was like, what are bars? Like, I don't know what that is. And she's like, well, I know someone who is in Minnesota. She actually introduced me to the bars, and I could like hook you guys up. And then I was so scared to have a stranger come to my home, do something I didn't even like. What are bars? Like touching my head. I was mortified. And when we encounter this fear and we listen to our knowing, being and receiving and perceiving, and we tune into it, then we switch into the potency if we actually choose it, you know? And that's another example for me of when I chose potency rather than fear. I was like, all right, I'm gonna have this lady over, and yeah, I mean, potency has been happening since then. And it wasn't just one thing. It's like, all right, I got my bars run, and that was the first little like spurt of potency, and then became a bars practitioner, and then a CFMW and a bars facilitator. And it's crazy how just one choice of choosing potency can create this domino effect of being able to choose more potency with even more ease. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's amazing.
Something else I've done in those regards is I kind of work with myself being that intimate relationship with Andres. So it's
Mm-hmm.
Andres having an intimate relationship with Andres. He has to. He want to make sure I go through. I honor myself. I have gratitude for myself. I'm vulnerable with myself. I I provide myself more allowance. That I trust myself. And those are some elements that sometimes we dare to apply with someone else. So if
Mm-hmm.
we jump into a relationship and if we are not really applying those elements to us, how could we possibly enhance the other person's life?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the way I look at relationships is most of the cases they happen really on a way that we're not aware. We're not asking questions. And like on a normal path, on a linear path, if I were to ask to my parent, my mom, my siblings, my people that are close to me that know me from long time,
Mm-hmm.
they're all gonna say the exact same thing. You get to know your partner, and you go through certain time, I'll recommend this time, and
Yeah.
then not before, blah blah blah, yada yada, because that's what they've been functioning from.
Mm-hmm.
I have never heard someone before kind of agreeing with me on that landscape. I used to really be with someone. I didn't need to be with someone more than a month or more than one date to know that ain't gonna happen, honey. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna pass tonight, kind of thing.
Right. You were aware.
Um, I was, and
Ooh.
then I got into this. Now I got some new information. I met Crystal, and she told me about the questions, and I wasn't really asking the questions that way. I knew. I just did not ask the same questions on that sequence as she did it pragmatically.
Mm-hmm.
I had some sort of awareness. I knew I knew that I was going to be okay, that we were going to generate, that we were going to create, that we were able to honor ourselves
Yeah.
from the very very first moment.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that, I like to say I did look at those elements in different order. I read different books. Four Agreements was one of them,
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
and
I have that one.
it kind of gives you some center, something to grasp on.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that I treated the most was myself, and I was always super happy. I got my routine and everything, and then my daughter, and then that's how I set up my life. So
Mm-hmm.
that also gets you a reference, like how would you like your life to be? How would you
Yeah.
what kind of energy of like you like to be? And I all the time I'm picturing that in my head. I see things that we're doing together with Crystal as a couple, and they are actualizing every time we decide to face what the challenges
Mm-hmm.
and be vulnerable with each other and honor ourselves and all those things that I've been able to do to myself. Now I'm able to do it to someone else.
Oh, that's so rewarding too, you know? And Janine always says, like, we can only take others as far as we've taken ourselves. And oh, wow, yeah, I just love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that has been. I noticed that. I mean, like, you know how many other people they call that selfishness, or you have an ego, or this because you always think
Yeah.
about you first, and this and that. I'm like, I'm pragmatic. I mean, it's like
Right.
if I don't look after myself, like, how could I possibly do that for someone else,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so
right?
true. And I mean, that's even that point of view that people have that you have to take care of others first is rooted in fear, in my from my point of view, because they're afraid that they're going to get rejected, they're not good enough. There's so much underlying fear in this reality, and just like you said in the beginning, there's a fine line between fear and potency. And if people just choose, then I mean, how dynamic would their life be, you know? Yeah.
True, true.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get into we have a lot of emotions when we're going through a challenge. So let's say that we're living. Let's say that for people that are listening at this moment that are single, that they
Mm-hmm.
don't have any partner, but they have anything around them where they can build a relationship. And the first thing to build that relationship is with ourselves, that honor. One of the ways I find that I honor myself the most is not only with my daily practice, with it's kind of being mindset, kind of daily practice, but I love to cook and I love to make a awesome badass killer salad.
Hell yeah.
So something that is delicious, it's a lot of flavor, but I'm honoring my body with all the ingredients and the
Mm.
time I take to cook. Now since we're here close to the ocean, I discover who can supply prawns and those large pieces of, it's like a ginormous shrimp.
Oh, the yes, yeah. I've seen you guys cooking those a few times. They're huge.
They're huge, and then we cook it in some sort of wine,
Mhm.
butter, garlic, um, sauce, and we eat that with baguette and with a nice wine. And it takes us probably almost the entire bottle of wine while we cook it. And I do most of
Oh, I think
it
you're muted up.
myself. I honor my partner.
No.
Oh, am
Never
I
mind.
good
You're
now?
good now. Yep.
I was just getting a call from my uncle. He's fanatic to the soccer, and today was Champions League, so of course you want to talk to me.
Ooh, okay.
I love champions. I love soccer. So
Right? Who
that's
doesn't?
that's one of the ways I honor myself, and
Yeah.
I have the fortune to honor her by honoring myself. And we enjoy. We There's no restaurant in town that or I ever seen that can make the food I make or can make the pasta she makes.
That's badass. I like that. I need to learn how to cook. That's a way that I could honor myself, and I just don't. There's a lot of resistance and fear in there too, when there is this underlying potency that I could choose, but I mean, I wonder what it would take for me to be willing to choose that, because right now I'm not willing.
All right, tell me something. Can I
Mhm.
ask you a question about your resistance?
Please go ahead.
So, so what level of resistance you've noticed on yourself in terms of start with something like if you like how
Ooh.
happened with the podcast that you actually just went for it and now I don't I think you enjoy this more as even that your first toy ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So
mean, mhm, go ahead.
what are you going through in terms of your own resistance?
Oh, that's a great question. So the telecalls have been a huge part. I'm on the road to CF right now, and the feelings telecall, the distractor implant telecalls, and obviously all the calls with Crystal have just been mind blowing. Um, but I mean, it all comes down to choice for me, is what I've noticed. I used to think that I have a problem with motivation when
Mhm.
really it was just a willingness to choose. And because when I choose something, I'm motivated as hell. Nothing can stop me, and I've always been like that since I was very little. Like, if I was rearranging my room, I would be able to lift something that like no 10-year-old would be able to lift. But if I was determined to do it and I chose it, then I could do it. So for me, it just comes down to choice. But to answer your question, I guess the thing that I go into first when I am afraid is that what I'm
It's fine.
derailing. What was
It's fine. Look, let me ask you directly. So, like,
sure.
okay, you're ready to choose. You know you gotta choose. Now you got that imprinted on you, and in order for you to switch from resistant to receiving, is choose something, right? Just make a
Mm-hmm.
choice. Are we sort of close? Sort of like,
Yeah, definitely. And once I do choose, I pick the thing that's the most fun for me within the process. So once I choose, I kind of get a download of like what's required of the choice that I'm making. And for me, usually these choices that I'm intimidated by are with like creating content. And something that I find really ease and fun is creating graphics. So I usually start with that. And I just start with like a little bite of something that I like and that I enjoy doing and is fun. And once I do that, I just get more inspired to choose and create the rest. So yeah, it comes down to choice for me, really.
awesome.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
asking you because I gone through the same kind of path, and it's all
Mm-hmm.
is most of the time comes from an energy of a projection of what we will think someone else will get from us at the moment we make the choice.
Oh
So
yeah.
the big one of the biggest gap I had to dealt with is if I were to describe it on a slow motion steps is, you're gonna make a choice, right? In order for you to choose, you're gonna you're gonna evolve to certain other level, which is, let's see for a moment, let's start making graphics today. Let's start making my graphics, but then, so there is always comes this projection that like, oh, my graphics are gonna look, how are they, wondering how they're gonna look. They probably the
Yeah.
first one I'm gonna. So then you start OCDing them, like painting and painting and painting and painting and making them. No, 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 this one is not really working, and you kind of get lost into this ocean because we always have this projection. We have a lot of mirrors of
Hmm.
what the projection of we think people will look of us.
Yeah.
That's one of the first fears to switch to potency. It's
Oh.
like, all right,
Oh.
let's assume for a moment that if that was the case, so what? Number one, we have
Hmm.
choices. One of the things we can do is, as you know, we can pot and pack
Yes.
and
Always.
say, all right, let's go through that energy, pot and pack. Let's
Hmm.
see what happens. Some others, like myself, is like, all right, well, if that's the case, if I'm going to make ugly graphics,
Hmm.
then let's make it my brand. What will it take for
Oh,
that
yeah.
to be right?
I like that.
And I got for someone very dear that it kind of remind me that you're only authentic where you're able to express who you are when you're
Mm-hmm.
being you. I have like I'm like I have certain way to talk to people and to explain certain things on some sort of shortcuts, and I'm that part I don't communicate really well. I just go into certain things. So guess what? The day I embraced it, it kind of played on my favor because it was in some sort of
Ah.
job sales. So I was talking so fast and so on a smart way that people were afraid actually to ask questions. They saying, "Sure, whatever you say, you seem to know what you're doing. Where do I sign?"
Mm-hmm.
So I did not know anything about energetics or access consciousness or anything. All I knew was that that's the person I wanted to be, and I was
Mm.
happy
Yep.
being that. And I face that now with being myself on my business because I did not know really what to do. I say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I work from the energy of what am I gonna do that all these mirrors that I have as a projection look at me in a way that I would like them to look at me,
Yep.
I'll go nuts or I never do something.
Absolutely. And yeah, wow. I mean, that's just very profound. Totally
So
agree.
that actually flips you into a way that, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to invite
Hmm.
everyone to come and play, playing in the middle of my chaos, of
Yeah.
my universal brain disorder kind of thing I have.
Right. Right. And that's the beauty of it too. And so many, the thing that we as humanoids think is the biggest wrongness of ourselves is oftentimes the thing that so many people love the most. Not that it even matters what other people think, but it's just it's comforting to know that like the thing that you think is so wrong and awful and bad about you is something that other people enjoy and love. So
Exactly.
like yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. Exactly. Look, yesterday I was talking to one of my clients lives in Switzerland,
Mm-hmm.
and we were having a conversation. We had like a pause in the middle of a program that we developing,
Hmm.
and she asked me straight up, "Are you an X-Men?" Because that's what she does for living. She does the kind of
Oh,
coaching she does to parents. So and
very
I stopped for a moment and say, you know what? I think yes. I haven't been diagnosed, but I think yes. And
yeah.
I never really care to go and get any diagnostic or anything. All I know is that I go in circles.
Hmm.
I start something and I don't finish until I finish another seven things. I count everything. I'm really good with numbers. I memorize and calculate everything really quick,
Hmm.
and I don't pay attention to certain things. I kind of, what is it called? I pay attention to what I need to pay attention to, what is
Oh, sure.
convenient
Mhm.
at the moment, kind of thing. That
Yeah.
irritates a lot of people.
How that's how I function too. I'm a total X-Men. And just to break it down for anyone who doesn't know what an X-Men is, it's and you'll have to help me with this definition a bit, but it's anyone who has ADHD, autism, OCD, and they see it as such a wrongness of their being when really it's a capacity that you have that this reality has taught you is wrong and awful about you, when really you have access to this whole other world that can contribute to the universe in such great ways, and you're just not given the tools to use it and be it. So I guess that's my definition, but what would you say an X-Men is?
That's it. That's the
Yeah.
definition. It's like
Cool.
the gifted minded people that are judged by current society.
Ah, yeah, and I think a lot of the fear from it comes from parents. So like doctors and people of authority in this reality will tell parents like, "Oh my gosh, like this is a bad thing about your child." Like this, well, they won't use those words, but they'll say, "Okay, here's how you can fix it. Here's what you can do to minimize this." When in reality, when you look at the potency of it, it is such a contribution and a gift to their being and to the world. So, how many of you are denying the excellence that you truly are?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's amazing. My daughter is totally that. She's a clone of me. I don't know if I'm real,
Really?
but she's a clone of me. She counts the food. She surprises Crystal and I the other day, and she told us that she was eating like four French fries and five pieces of meat. Daddy, I'm eating four French fries and five pieces of meat, and I'll keep playing, okay? And I'm like, okay, Luna, sounds good. And then it hit me later, but she has that capacity, and her mom is actually doing a good job. Now she's into
Oh.
chess, and she beat us at Uno, that cards play.
Yeah. Yeah.
She beat us. I mean, she wiped our asses the last time we played. And she's 7 years old. She's number one in math at school. She is kind of
Oh, wow.
ahead of everyone. So they actually bought her a board where every morning she takes the lesson of her mom and her stepdad. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I mean, like, but they're doing a
Wow.
great
Good
job.
for
They're
her.
actually enhancing that potency
Hmm.
from now, that gift.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. Good for Luna. Give her a high five from me.
Oh, she good. Okay, will do. I'll show her a picture and I'll say that, Parisa.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Wow. I like don't even have words. That's crazy.
What else do you have on your brain? Do you have any other question or every anything else
Hmm.
that you wanted to look at, or you want to wait for
So
tomorrow?
tomorrow is that's when our call is, right? The Mudfuckers Club?
Yeah. So tomorrow we got the kickoff call, and pretty much what it is you come to a kickoff call, but every third Thursday of each month we have the intro class um, of a book. We are going to start with Money Isn't the Problem, You Are. And then we every week we go through a live kind of challenge, 30 by 30, use of the tools. And we have, with every participant, we have a coaching session. And that's more
Oh,
to get something that probably wanted to get discussed about the book, about the reading.
wow. Very cool.
So,
Hmm. I just bought that book actually, and my mom's like, "Can I have the book? I want to read it." It's the first time she's ever been interested in anything access. Like I've ran her bars, and she's like, "Eh." But she saw this book. When I was at COP, they were like giving a discount on if you buy a certain amount of books, and I bought it. And she saw it in my suitcase, and she's like, "Can I have that?" And wow, that's just crazy that we're starting with that book. It's so relevant right now too. And just for anyone who didn't hear, it's called Money Isn't the Problem, You Are by Gary Douglas, right? Did he write that?
Yes, yes,
Of
both of
course.
them. Both of
Awesome.
them.
I
Yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
wait. Yeah. And if you guys haven't joined the Mudfuckers Club, you can go to, it's just mudfuckersclub.com, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Okay, cool. And
mudfuckersclub.com.
I'll have it in the show description too.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Teresa.
and it's a great price. It's only $1 to join, right? Right now,
It's $1. Yeah, it's $1 to come and join and play for 14 days,
which is
and
a
then
steal. Yeah, yeah. You guys don't join. Don't join if you want change, or if you don't want change.
yeah, the guys don't
Uh,
come and don't join. It could be too much to handle.
it won't be boring. We can promise that, right?
That week, definitely, definitely. That promise was made to me also a long time
Yep.
ago. I can only promise it won't be boring. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh boy, what did I just sign up for?
The ride of your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I never been that happier in my life.
I'm so glad. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Andres. This was amazing, and I really appreciate your contribution.
No, thank you, Parisa. Keep it out.
Yeah,
You're so potent. You right
thank
now
you.
you're the face of this episode today.
Thank you. Well, you too. You are too.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you tomorrow then.
All right. Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Bye.
Bye.